Have you ever wondered, do you have any real hope of fighting and winning in your battle with bipolar disorder? Is there anything that you can do to fight back? As an emotional mastery coach, I get all kinds of questions. And at the root of them all is this: is there any hope for me? And this is an important question because how you answer this one question will determine what you will do next, and it will determine what your future will look like. Will it be bleak and hopeless or bright and hopeful? How can one question make such a big impact in a person's life? Well, let's set bipolar disorder aside for a second and use another example so you can see this clearly. Let's take a difficult marriage as an example. If you are facing a very difficult marriage, then you have asked yourself this question, is there any hope for my marriage? And if you feel that the marriage is hopeless, that there is no chance that this is going to get better, there is no chance, then because of that, you'll have a tendency of just giving up. And in fact, you'll probably not take any action at all because, well, what's the point? There isn't any real hope for this marriage. What that means is this marriage will continue to get worse. Let's take that same difficult marriage, but this time you have a kind of feeling around hope. You think it might be possible that this is going to get better, but maybe not. In that case, you're going to take a few actions, but in fear of wasting too much energy or effort, you're not going to give it your all. The reason you're not doing more is because your hope hasn't come up to the full level. So if you take that same difficult marriage and you really believe the situation has hope, you really believe that you can turn it around and have a healthy marriage, then things look very different. Now you start to pray fervently. You gather scriptural evidence that you both can be well emotionally, and you start taking practical actions to enhance your relationship. The level of hope that you feel for your marriage will determine the actions that you take. And those actions that you take are going to determine what your future marriage will look like. This principle of hope is true no matter what we're talking about, and it is the same for how you're treating bipolar disorder. So for you, is there any hope? Now, if you do a Google search or talk to friends or talk to your doctor, you're probably going to find that there isn't any hope. This is what you'll be told. And if you really start searching for hope, like you're really clinging to it, then maybe you've searched the library for books on the subject, and mostly what you've come up with is survival guides. And survival guides kind of have this indication that the best you can hope for is to simply survive this, that you will be living with this for the rest of your life and managing it. Now, if you ask me, I'm going to give you a whole different answer, and that is because I was once you. Now that I know all that I know, I can look back at my teen years and see that even then I was exhibiting symptoms of bipolar disorder. It wasn't until many years later when I landed myself in a psych ward that I actually received the diagnosis. Then I spent a few years, as most of us do, in a bit of denial, going, that can't really be the situation. As I continued to face relapse after relapse, I accepted the diagnosis. Okay, this is what I have to deal with. Later, I learned how to manage it, and really, I was faced with no hope whatsoever. This is something I was going to have to live with and manage for the rest of my life. So to try to protect my family from the ups and downs that's associated with this, to try to not drag them through the mud and seasons of deep, dark depression, to try to prevent mania, I did the logical things where I worked on managing it. I read a number of survival guides, a lot of survival guides, learning how to balance medications. I submitted to psychiatric care for the meds and years of counseling. I went into the church and prayed regularly. I have videos about that, talking about how I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for a relief from this, for healing from this. And I continued to manage this for years. It was really rough. It was rough for me. It was rough for my family. I had all the same things that are associated with bipolar disorder, the things that you know well, that you're dealing with. I was dealing with all of that. But what really began to frustrate me was I was a good student, and I'm one of those that, I study, I'm really smart, and I'm good with rules. I like to follow the rules. And so I was a good patient. I did all the things that you're supposed to do to manage bipolar disorder well. And I found that relapse kept happening. Didn't matter how much I listened, mania kept coming back, depression kept coming back. And there was a point at which I got really frustrated with the medical system. I was like, enough of this. I want to know how to heal. And as I prayed, I asked God to show me how to heal. And He was faithful to do that. And so I walked through a process of learning how to heal. I did a lot of trial and error as I figured this out, but God allowed me to crack the code and allowed me to heal all of it. My mind healed, my body healed, my brain chemistry became righted with itself, and I gained freedom. And what was absolutely beautiful about my particular situation was that I was under psychiatric care. I was doing those things, and it was my medical care team that said, we've never seen this before, but you are ready to come off medications. And so more years went on as I weaned off those medications. Bipolar medications are really hard to get off of. It is not, and from this video, you do not have enough information, and no way am I recommending that you get off of your medications. When you are at a place of healing and ready to get off, this too is a long process. And so there was a long process that I went through to get to the place of complete healing. And now it's been years without medication, years without relapse. As I've walked with other people through the process of healing, I now help 3 groups of people, those dealing with anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder, and of course, various combinations of those 3 things. It has been my joy to walk with others through this process. I know that healing is possible. I know that freedom is possible. And my life looks very different now that I'm on the side of healing than those years where I was strapped in this prison, where I just continue to face this year after year after year. And again, to be very clear, everywhere you look, you're going to see that it is not possible to heal. It is only possible to manage this. And that is a choice. I had, at some point, had to look at my Bible and decide, am I going to believe my doctor or am I going to believe my Bible? And over again, the Bible is clear that healing is possible. I knew that healing was possible for me. And so I pursued it wholeheartedly. I know that it is possible to heal. I know that I am completely healed. And I have hope and faith that it is possible for you to heal as well. And so as you're watching this, you really have a choice. You can throw up your hands and ignore it, which probably isn't where you're at if you're even watching this. People that don't really feel that there's any hope for them don't even watch this, or they pop in, leave me a nasty comment, and they head right back out again. But if you have hope and you're reading this, then the next choice you have is to just read the survival guides. And again, that's where I started. And you can choose to just make it through. Or you can decide that there's more hope for you and it's actually possible to heal, and choose to pursue it wholeheartedly. Once you make the choice to pursue healing, you need to follow a plan. You can't just do this willy-nilly. There is a plan to follow, and it's best if you follow someone who's already been through it. This is also a little bit of a beef of mine. I find it so interesting how we tend to follow people for advice or recommendations because they hold degrees, but they don't have any practical experience in that. And that was a lot of what I dealt with. Was I was following people that had no idea what bipolar actually felt like, what it felt like to be hospitalized or to deal with mania. None of those things, yet they were giving me advice for how to make my life better. Like, just doesn't make any sense. So what I share with you is not theory. I've actually lived through it. I have lived through the pain of having to deal with it for years, and I dealt with the most severe type of bipolar disorder that there is. And now I am on the side of healing, showing you the experience of showing you the practical advice of how to heal, as well as the experience I have from walking with many other people through this process. So if that interests you, you're like, what is a strategy? What do I actually go through? What do I actually do to heal? Then I want to share with you my book. It's called How to Fight Anxiety and Depression and Actually Win. And I want to make sure that the title doesn't throw you off. You're like, I'm here for bipolar. Yeah, if you're here for bipolar, then you're probably dealing with anxiety and depression, as again, most of our clients are. It's Actually, I can't even think of anybody that I've helped that's dealing with bipolar disorder that wasn't also dealing with anxiety. The same principles that I use to deal with bipolar disorder are right here in this book, as well as my testimony. And of course, I cover anxiety and depression as well. There are a number of steps that you want to make sure that you follow in order to heal. And really, what is different about my particular process and what I've shared here in this book is my approach is different because, first of all, I believe in healing and have accomplished it. Again, that is very different than what you're going to find out there. Every psych book is going to tell you the best you can do is manage it. And unfortunately, even in Christian circles, most of the books that I see around depression and anxiety are just ideas of like, hey, we're going to make this the best that we can, but we're not going to expect this to go away permanently. I believe that's a lie from the enemy. The enemy wants you to stay trapped in this thing for the rest of your life. And I believe we can eliminate anxiety completely. We can lift depression indefinitely, and we can completely leave bipolar behind. That's what I believe is possible for you. And so you want to choose your guides carefully. Like, you want to really pay attention to what they're saying. So I'm pretty bold in saying that I believe in healing and I have accomplished it, and I believe it's possible for you too. And so again, I've laid this out step by step in my book. And everything that I've laid out for you starts with a basic concept that is often overlooked. And I want to share that with you now. We must recognize that we are body, mind, and spirit. There are these three parts. And I didn't just make this up. This isn't just some crazy discovery. I found this in the Bible. And so if you will turn to, let me find it. Look at that, I have a Bible right here. 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 23. Let me grab my reading glasses. So right here in 1 Thessalonians 5:23, we read, "Now may the God of peace himself sanctify you completely, and may your whole spirit and soul and body be kept blameless at the coming of the Lord Jesus Christ." You might notice a slight difference here. I said whole spirit and soul and body, and a moment ago I said body, mind, and spirit. So soul is this word that we, for some reason, interchange with spirit a lot. And so I find if you look up the words, look up the Greek here and look at what it really means psyche, which is mind. So it's easier if we say spirit, mind, and body to be very clear. These are the three parts. We have to pay attention to emotional health, physical health, and spiritual health at the same time. And this is the key. This is why I was able to heal completely, and this is why I've had such amazing success with my clients as they have gone through the same process. They've been able to heal because they didn't just try a one-step solution. So bipolar disorder is a body, mind, and spirit problem, but yet most of us treat this just as a mind problem. And this is true across all mental health concerns. These are all body, mind, and spirit problems, but we only address one part of the problem. For example, when we go to counseling, we're only dealing with the emotional health side of us. Or we apply a Band-Aid called medication that doesn't really address what's happening physically, right? It's meant to help with that, but they are not designed to help you heal. They're only designed to alter brain chemistry in some way. And unfortunately, the truth of it is that psychiatrists don't even understand what truly happens. And they know that if you get on meds, that you're actually making the cycle last longer. They know this to be true, but they don't really have any other answers. And they have to go with how they have been indoctrinated. Again, I've got other videos about that if you want to check into that as well. But the point that I'm making is, in order to heal, you must heal emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That is the only way to leave bipolar behind once and for all, which means for you, there is a whole lot of hope that you can fight back and you can win this thing. I want you to understand this will not be the easiest thing to do in life. But surviving with bipolar is not any easier, right? Surviving with this, living with it. But you'll see that mantra everywhere else you look. We're living with it. Yay, we're living our best life with bipolar. No, we're not living our best life with bipolar. That is a lie from the enemy. We do not live our best life while dealing with a sickness. We live our best life by overcoming a sickness. The effort that you put into healing will be completely worth it, and the sky is the limit once you're healed. And the most important part, the thing I get the most excited about is once you heal, you can then move on to impacting the lives of others. And that's where it's really at. That's what we're called to as believers in Jesus, is to impact the lives of others. And the best way we can do that is when we're healthy emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I have so much more that I want to cover, but everything that you really need is in the book. And by the way, when you go to my site to look at that book, I also have many other video trainings that are there. We'll go into much deeper than the YouTube algorithm will allow. Whenever you're doing a YouTube video, trying to keep it short, trying to keep it compact. And when I take it offline, I can get into much deeper, the trainings that you need, the actual information that you need to really heal. For example, you understand that you have to heal emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Unfortunately, a lot of us do a lot of lousy things for healing trauma. I have videos on that too. But the one real big thing that we miss is, how do we deal physically? And it may surprise you, but the Bible has a lot to say about how to heal physically. When you take care of your body in the way that God designed, it unlocks the body's natural ability to heal. God designed our body that way. Our body is naturally designed to heal. And when we do for our body what we need to, it means the body's going to heal and the brain chemistry is going to heal. And that is a game changer in this. But unfortunately, some people just focus on that part, they just focus on the physical part, and that is not the way to healing. We've got to do all three at the same time with the intention of healing, and then everything changes. And so again, I encourage you to check out the book. The description is in the link below. Again, I have some other very powerful trainings there. I have one specific to bipolar where I really talk about what you need to be mindful of and what you need to be paying attention to in order for healing to happen. Now that you are certain that there is hope for your situation and feel ready to move forward and pursue this wholeheartedly, check out this video here where I share with you the first thing you must do when you're approaching bipolar disorder. This is what I wish I would have known. And without this, you may make some detrimental missteps.